Where's me? You come up here. Checking. Are we ready? Okay. All right, welcome everyone. If you're not sure where you are right now,
Yep, gotcha. Okay.
if you're not sure what session you're in right now, this is just a recap of the research roundtable that we had on Friday. Research roundtable was our opportunity to bring together patients, families, caregivers, and sit down with researchers, scientists, clinicians, as well as some industry professionals to really talk about your voice, the patient voice. And that's what PCOR and the roundtable was all about. Our goals for the day really were just focused on getting your voice heard and walking away from the day with kind of this roadmap to help inform future research. So Shami's going to go through some of the specifics, but the structure of the day, the survey that you completed in the past few weeks kind of built the content for that meeting and started us off with our questions for the day. And we went through a lot of that survey, and then we heard from some of the investigators and scientists. We heard directly from the families, and then we broke up into working groups. And each table had a couple of questions to tackle. Goals for each table were to identify exactly what the challenge was specifically that related to that question. And then also to develop a potential list of PCOR initiatives or research initiatives, priorities, and some things that we can maybe look at in the future as far as research and care go. So I'm going to turn it over to Shami. I do want to say thank you to all of the moderators. We had 8 moderators that helped throughout the day. Thank you. So Shami, of course, helped. Stacy Huppert, Dr. Huppert from Cincinnati, who led the scientific meeting. She was a moderator. Tara, who's now not in the room, Tara from our board was a moderator. Jennifer Aponte, who I know she just is checking out right now. Hannah Craig, who was also an Alagille syndrome mom. Not this one, but Sandra took that place. Sandra Beltran, who is from Spain. Wait.
Yes.
Sandra's from Spain.
Yes.
All right. We have a lot of international families here. Stephanie Davis, who was formerly on our board. She's still very involved in advocacy for us. And then also Shanda Turner, who you all have probably heard from today or yesterday. She specializes in a lot of childhood concerns like IEPs and anything dealing with schools. So thank you to all those moderators, and I'm going to turn it over to Shami to give us a little bit of information about specifics.
You're good. I'm so glad this podium is not high. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to see you guys and talk to you. I'm just so glad. Anyway, I digress. So the whole point of this exercise was to ensure that the patient perspective goes into research and goes into the clinical settings, into like hospitals and doctors. And it was, like Cher said, it started off with a pre-survey, which was then used to draw points that you guys and that all of us who took the survey really cared about. And from that, when we broke off into our working groups, what we tried to do was ensure that each group had a family, had a researcher if possible, had a doctor if possible, and maybe a pharmaceutical company representative if possible. We tried to make sure that the groups were organized such that it had all the stakeholders relevant to ALGS. And based on that, we moderators, we took a lot of notes. We took down all your perspectives, and we're going to turn your perspectives into a white paper, which is kind of like a policy paper that takes a stand on an issue. But in this case, it wouldn't be us taking a stand because we know what we want. We want a cure. We want better doctors. We want access to insurance and healthcare. So we know what we want, but we need to know how to get there and what are the baby steps to get there. And we need to have a list of priorities on what we need to tackle first, or what are the pressing issues that need addressing immediately. So during this, the drafting of this white paper, what we're going to focus on is trying to create like a matrix of the challenges, the potential solutions which we came up with together, and we're going to split that stakeholder-wise. So what can pharma do? What can researchers do? What can families do? What can doctors do? And based on that, we're going to develop a roadmap that we present to the FDA and to PCOR, because PCOR helps in designing research studies and auditing them to ensure that the patient voice is incorporated. So I'm not going to go into the specifics of the suggestions and the solutions that we took down during the discussions, because that would take me a whole hour, because there was a lot to unpack. But I'm guessing you guys remember the questions as well. Do you want me to go through? Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so I'm not going to read the questions out. I'm just going to go topic-wise on what they concerned. So the first one was obviously misdiagnosis. Misdiagnosis is a huge problem, and there are lots of undiagnosed cases that go on for years and years. Like mine, I was diagnosed only at 7. So the second one was about the variation in the way medication affects patients and how effective they are. So that was a very, very interesting discussion, which I was so honored to be a part of. The third topic, or the third area that was seen as important for discussion, was knowledge gap. Was knowledge gap from all stakeholders and from the families. We don't know what to ask. We don't know what to look out for. The fourth item that came up for discussion was, of course, insurance denial and what to do in those cases. The fifth one was nutrition and promoting growth and reducing malabsorption, and how do you boost that, and what kind of things can you do, and what kind of supplements can you ask for. The sixth one was the impact that young adults have on, or even adults for that matter, who have ALGS. What impact, or what position do we have in this large food chain? Do we have a voice? Do we have researchers studying things about us? Do we have medicines specifically tailored towards adults? Do we have doctors that know how to treat an adult? So there's a big mental health angle as well, because that's not being addressed for young adults that have the disease. So that was a big issue to unpack, and I was fortunate to do that with Jeanette, who's sitting right here. Hi. The seventh one was about patients and families in general, and whether they feel they had a voice in research, whether they had a voice with the researchers, whether it's pharma or academic independent labs and research labs. The last one was about the variability in everything, in the clinical setting, in research, in the genetic aspects of it, and what families can do for each other to mitigate that variability. What is the role we play for each other? So this was the broad range of topics that we covered, and from all the discussions, we're gonna put out this paper, and it's gonna go. I think we'd be able to share it with you. Yeah, we'd be able to share it with you when it's done, for your inputs, your thoughts, your comments, and suggestions, so that it's a truly consultative process, and what goes out to the authorities is something that is informed and something that you guys understand and believe in back. So yeah, that's about it. I mean, if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer it on the technicalities of the paper, but I didn't want to bore you with that.
I just wanted to mention a couple things too. The survey, if you haven't had a chance to take the survey, we're going to keep it open, because even though survey answers from now on may not be a part of this particular paper, still it's helpful to us as an organization. There were additional questions in there about your clinical trial experience, and just we thought, you know what, if we're going to survey, let's survey. And so I know it was very extensive, almost 60 questions, I think. But so that's going to stay open. So please continue to take that. And then one thing that Shami mentioned was if you felt like you had a voice. And for those of you who were not in here and didn't see, that percentage of our families who said, no, I don't feel like I have a voice in research was way too high. And so my hope is that leaving here after this event, each and every one of you can go back and re-answer that question a little bit differently. If there is anything that comes out of this that you want us to know, to incorporate going forward, always feel free to reach out to myself, reach out to Roberta, reach out to anybody on the board, because your voice is important. And like we've said, this entire event, each and every one of you is a piece to this puzzle. And that's what we're trying to do, is connect all of these pieces. So please reach out to us. Let us know your thoughts. I know this has been so much to take in the past few days, but as you're on your way home, you're going to start thinking about things, and then once you get home. So our door is open, and that line of communication needs to stay open. And hopefully those of you who were in the round table really feel like, okay, you know what? They get it, and the line of communication directly to the researchers is also open. So does anyone have any questions? Because I can run down with the microphone.
Like on the structure of the paper, or who's going to read it, or? No? Okay, thank you.
All right, so we're going to, we're going to set up now for the teen panel. It's in about 15 minutes, but we need to get set up here. So if you're staying for that, great, because I know it's going to be amazing. And we're going to welcome our PFIC community to that also. So thank you all so much. All right, thank you, Shami.